Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty crazy news going on over here where Sony actually may have made a really big mistake. Now, we're going to go into a little bit of a bigger deep dive, I guess, because it kind of comes to some intriguing statements. Now, if you guys do or do not know, there's been a big Xbox acquisition, but one of the bigger things I wanted to go and highlight was more on the cloud gaming side. Now, there was a little bit of drama when it comes to PlayStation, Call of Duty, console exclusivity, monopolies, and all of that, but one of the biggest issues we saw was more so on the actual legal documents themselves, more in regards to cloud gaming, cloud hosting, cloud computing, and everything else kind of fashioned into, well, gaming. So that's like more the thing like a Google Stadia, Amazon Luna, obviously Game Pass, PlayStation streaming, cloud hosting, NVIDIA streaming, all that type of stuff that all these really big tech companies are trying their best to get as big of a foothold as they possibly can into. A good example is AWS, with all this type of clouding type stuff, is one of the most profitable sectors of Amazon, as well as same thing with NVIDIA, AI, and everything else in between. And now this is why it's kind of a big deal, because Sony's CEO actually finally spoke out about some of these issues, and especially right now, with the Xbox themselves trying to go and, well, be against all these issues with like the CMA and really big European government bodies, this is probably one of the worst things that Sony could have possibly said publicly, so we're going to go talk about this. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Amazon links down below for a bunch of cool consoles up on sale, and the Twitter and Twitch you guys want to follow, and let's dive into some pretty big news. So as I kind of give you as the pre-intro on this video, cloud computing is the big caveat when it comes to Xbox and Activision and Blizzard. But right now, Sony's CEO warns now that technical issues still could remain for cloud gaming. But Yoshida says the corporation want to take on these challenges and basically saying right now as a big forward-moving company, they want to go and tackle this cloud gaming as best as they possibly can. And as well also kind of somewhat alluding towards the fact that maybe cloud gaming competition as everything else in between is maybe not as big of a deal as some folks are expecting. Now, the big reason why this might be a huge mistake, we're going to dive into this as we kind of go over the news, is obviously the very high-level picture. This is the biggest issue, one of the biggest things that could potentially stop Xbox from, well, getting this acquisition and dealing with this in the UK. So this is like the one time where everyone should be shutting their mouths. Everyone should not be talking about this. If you're the CEO, you're executive, you're like a big like future design, whatever it might be for PlayStation or Sony, bro. This is where like there's a big meeting for all the higher ups being like, yeah, we're not, cloud gaming, yeah, it might be going good, maybe low key, but let's not talk about this publicly until this Xbox thing is done. Now, this is not always going to be like a 100% like throwing everything in the trash, but it's definitely one of those things where it's like, hey, like this is not good. So basically for this one, Sony's chief executive Kenichiro Yoshida has warned that technical issues remain with cloud-based gaming, calling the technology very tricky. Now, once again, maybe they're trying to go push the other like opposite side where it's like, hey, it's really hard to make this happen well. The fact that Microsoft somehow does have it working well, yeah, we have to give more people time to catch up. But I think at the same time, too, once again, them trying to go push into expansion of the actual like cloud gaming, cloud streaming is just bad. Like this is like the one thing saving them. So in an interview with the Financial Times, Yoshida mentioned that Sony would look to use various options in the future for streaming PlayStation titles over the internet. So once again, this is them also saying we're going to be looking into different options, expanding it to streaming. We have the money and funding and the actual know-how, or at least this is on our business roadmap. We're going to make this happen. They go and state, I think cloud itself is an amazing business model, but when it comes to games, the technical difficulties are high, said Yoshida, citing latency, which refers to the time it takes for an action input on the controller to be reflected on the screen as the biggest issue. So there will be challenges to cloud gaming, but we want to take on those challenges. So once again, this is basically like the big issue is Xbox is a huge component of cloud hosting, cloud gaming. And with all this, that was like one of their biggest caveats where they could be like, yeah, it's really expensive. Competition's not there. And basically the one big thing that Sony has to go against Xbox. So if you have someone over here who's a chief executive in the company saying, hey, there's going to be huge challenges, yeah, but we want to take on these risks. We want to keep on providing, like, competition. We want to make sure we keep on investing money, probably billions of dollars into cloud hosting, cloud streaming, cloud computing, everything. This is literally what Xbox wants. In a free market, monopolies are really, well, hard to go and maintain, so you always obviously want to be like the other opposite side, because if you have all these consumers that want to go and stream and utilize these components, well, that's going to be a good thing at the end of the day. But guess what? if you also have, for some odd reason, the big government body saying, hey, guess what? We don't really care that much. Like, it's whatever. Cloud gaming's going to be hard. We got to make sure Xbox going to lock down. We have to give you guys time to grow back up. Well, then, yeah, that's when you go and you sit there and be like, yeah, it's horrible. It's so hard. It's expensive. You don't want to say we're going to go all in and going to make this a huge challenge. You're going to be like, yeah, this is just expensive. We'll have to see how it kind of goes. Maybe in the works. We'll have to see. We have to look through logistics. But it's all about how you word it. Yoshida also highlighted that due to the fluctuating popularity of gaming during the day, for example, a high number of players all logging on when they finish work or late at night or whatever, so maybe at 3 in the morning, there's less people playing versus like say 7 p.m. It's financially inefficient to run when there's a few players, and then conversely, a high number of players logging on at the same time could also lead to issues on performance, which also is like a valid critique, which also does kind of stem back to the, original problem. Is that maybe they just don't have enough money for it, or maybe it's not cost effective, or someone like Microsoft who has their own like cloud hosting servers, they can kind of use it as a loss leader or use extra server space to go and host this, and it's still kind of making the overall company money based on like if they, let's say like a company moves out, or you're going to have like 5 bajillion terabytes of hosting available. So guess what? You as a company, you could roll with it. It's fine because you already have the technology. It's one of your biggest performing things in Microsoft. So I guess it could also be like one of those secondary things, kind of bringing it out. But this has also hopefully been like vetted by lawyers when it comes to Sony's side. Referring to those quiet periods as the dark time, like apparently like we're now in the medieval ages, Yoshida said, the dark time for cloud gaming has been an issue for Microsoft as well as Google, but it was meaningful that we were able to use those quarter hours for AI learning. So it almost kind of seems like they also want to then go and mitigate some of the hosting they're doing into then maybe just utilizing that same technology to use things like AI, or maybe use that for maybe monitoring people what they're playing, maybe looking at their ratios, maybe seeing how you can have like a 90% up rate when it's like a really good high prime hours, and maybe like a 30%, you can see on how much of like a lax you could do in terms of AI learning. I don't know, I'm kind of using some trigger words here that I don't fully understand the implications on, obviously, but like it's one of those things where you could still utilize this stuff. Or if you have like really like hosting, what if you did it for certain games? Maybe try to go push it more for like you maybe transition for European hours when it's like 2 in the morning in America, and then kind of maybe segue throughout the day, like a cycle. I don't necessarily know exactly how it would work out, but there is all around options. So, but one big thing to know is that PlayStation has aggressive plans for the cloud gaming space, according to PlayStation boss Jim Ryan, the details of which he claims will be revealed over the coming months. So once again, this is like just not what you want to be saying. Like this is the one big thing that Xbox had against them. So, and this is all competition, monopoly stuff. And if you're the actual like counterpoint to the monopoly, this is basically like Coca-Cola having issues and Pepsi saying, yeah, those same issues, yeah, don't worry about them. There's almost no reason not to. Now, I'm kind of thinking it's more of like a strictly like strategic sense. I'm kind of okay with Xbox gets all these things like Diablo, etc. As long as they end up on Game Pass, it's probably good for gamers. I don't mind, because I'm a PC gamer too myself. But at the same time, like, bro, like this is like normal business. Like this is, I'm almost surprised I even talked about this. We observe mobility and gaming habits to be an increasingly important trend, and the cloud will be fundamental to allowing us, or indeed anyone else, to exploit that trend, he said in a recent interview. So basically Xbox, or basically themselves. We do have a fairly interesting and quite aggressive plans to accelerate our initiatives in the space of the cloud that will unfold over the course of the coming months. So once again, why not just wait? I mean, maybe it's like you actually have to announce this now, maybe if it's like in the motion very soon, but especially with the court hearings the next 2 to 3 months, especially being very, very big prime times for Xbox, it's just really weird timing. Now, once again, cloud gaming will be the future, obviously, the next 10, 15 years, so it's just even weirder to go and see as of now. So PlayStation has experimented with cloud features over the decade with its PlayStation Now service, which has been around before, like we've known about this, which has now been rolled into PS Plus, representing one of the early pioneers in the space. Although we haven't seen too much big innovation in this, and unless we see like almost like a Game Pass equivalent for PlayStation, be a little bit on the weirder side. So cloud gaming currently represents a small percentage of the global games market, but is viewed as a potential disruptor for the future. So this is kind of what's my big point over here. Regulators have been scrutinizing Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard over its potential to give Xbox maker an advantage in the emerging space, aka cloud hosting, cloud computing, which they fear could represent a monopoly should the cloud become dominant in the future. So, general business news, this is good. Like, we want to see PlayStation making their way into these, developments. We want to see this. But the part 2 of this is that, well, sadly, this is like the one big caveat, as I mentioned throughout this video, that was a big monopoly law issue that the CMA themselves said we do not want this acquisition to go through because of cloud gaming, cloud hosting, and, well, for some odd reason, PlayStation wanted to open their mouths and talk about it. So I kind of want to hear your thoughts and comments down below because I think it's very intriguing nonetheless. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We'll have probably another video throughout the day. We have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below if you guys want to follow. I'd love to have you guys there. Leave a like and comment, all that good stuff. And I appreciate y'all so much for watching in the first place.